Hello everybody, my name's Ryan and I'm a driving instructor. Today, what car should I buy? So today, what car should I buy? Is it going to be like what type of car or what car generally? Well, I want to concentrate on the one where you've got a budget. So the car that you're going to buy is a fixed budget. You might have finance, you might have cash. That cash amount depends on what you want really. There's no fixed amount. Most people who pass a driving test buy their instructor's car. Some people bought Fiestas and Corsas, and they bought Minis, or they bought Clios or 206s. They bought those super minis types of car. What people are really interested in though is, what do I look for in a car, rather than what car am I going to buy. First of all, when you've got your budget, think about your insurance. You might get that car, insure it as a learner, and then run it. You might do some lessons in it with a family friend or a relative. You've got to have insurance to drive on the road. You've got to also have tax to drive on the road and a valid MOT, and I'll come back to tax and MOT in a minute. But first of all, insurance. Insurance increases when you pass your test. That's quite hard to take. In some cases it can quadruple. The reason for that is that you're no longer sat with somebody there. So you can go out in that car all by yourself without any issues whatsoever. You can drive that car all by yourself on your insurance policy. Be honest in your insurance quote. Be honest when you're filling it out. Make sure that you're filling it out everything correctly. Make sure that you're putting it that you're doing off-street parking or driveway or garage. Make sure that you're writing it down. So how many miles are you going to do in a year? I don't know, 7,000 to 8,000. That's what you want to be honest about. You want to be honest about the things that you're going to do. Most people do about 200 miles a week or so, about a full tank of fuel every month. Most people do about 200 miles. It comes back to my electric car video that I mentioned, that most people would be able to charge and it'll last them a week. In my case it wouldn't. I'd have problems. Go and watch that video, link up there. It changes the insurance when you pass. Be honest in your insurance quote. Also, what's no claims discount? Well, no claims discount is an amount that you get a discount on for every year you have claim free. You can protect your no claims discount when you get to 5 years. That means that if you have a fault accident and you've got 5 years no claims discount, that you don't lose your no claims discount. Well, kind of. You actually lose a little bit of it. Most insurance policies or insurers are different. One that I'm aware of, if I had a fault accident and I've got 9 years no claims discount, then I would have 7. I get 2 years deducted off it. So you don't lose it all. That's what it's basically saying. It means that you are less of a risk because it comes up as a risk factor. That's what you're thinking about when you're thinking about insurance. Also, other things to consider on insurance policies is to add people to it. Why not add your partner or your mum or your dad? It's inevitable at some point that they will want to drive that car. There's nothing wrong with adding them to it, as long as you don't make them the main driver, because you're going to drive the car, not them. And you have to be honest in your insurance. If you have an accident and the insurer finds out and digs deep, then you've got to be careful that they don't keep digging and digging and digging and invalidate your claim. So you want to be absolutely honest, even about your job and everything else. Be absolutely honest when you're filling out that insurance. The next thing to think about in your budget, I mentioned about road tax. Road tax differs from car to car. If you've got a car that's prior to 2001, it's a different rate to what it was after. Car tax can be massive. Lovely example I put up here of a car that I used to own that had dead cheap tax, and it was a V6 3 litre. But then there's another one that was made like literally a year later, and it's got 600 and something quid's worth of tax on it. And yeah, tax is a massive thing, and it can really influence what you're going to buy. Remember that most cars after about 2017, something like that, going to the new tax band, and they were about 140, 180 pound a year. I think this is about 180 quid. I do it on direct debit. It's another factor though you've got to consider in the cost of your car. What about finance? Well, I can buy a car with finance, I can buy a car cash. Doesn't matter how much it is. Finance is quite limited. Finance often limits itself to around about 12,000 miles a year, or 10 years, or both. So you couldn't buy, right now, being 2023, you couldn't buy a car that was made before 2013 in most finance cases, and you couldn't buy a car that was over 120,000 miles. That's so that in 3 or 4 years time, when you get fed up with the car and you go and trade it in, or in my case sometimes you trade them in after a few weeks, that when you go and get rid of that car, it's still got some residual value. So you've still got value in that car after you've used it for your life of your loan. So if you get a 3-year loan, you want to keep it for 3 years. If you get 5 years, you probably want to try and keep it for 5 years. Also, if you've got, like, say for example you spend 10 grand on a car and you buy a 2017 Clio or something like that, or a Fiesta or something like that, then think about the repayment. If your repayment is about, let's for argument's sake say 248 quid, set the policy up, set the repayment up, pay your first deposit, then round it. Maybe even if you can afford it, maybe even go to 300. Put an extra 52 quid in it, because you'll find it'll pay your car off quicker. It'll reduce the overall cost of your loan. A lot of finance companies have penalties for early repayment, but what you can do is you can keep paying it and paying it and paying it, get to within say 300 quid of it having it left, talk to them, and they'll probably accept that you've settled that amount early, and they probably won't put any penalty in. Most finance, you'll have to speak to it and say, is there a penalty for early settlement? Mine isn't. On the 3 cars that I don't have anything like that. Mine, you just keep paying it and paying it and paying it. I've rounded most of my car loans when I've got them. It's the best way to do it. Get rid of it. It's a bit like a mortgage. If you had a 480 quid mortgage, why not pay 500? Then when the rate changes, you probably find that you've absorbed that cost and you probably pay your mortgage off quick. Same with cars. Exactly the same with finance, but you are limited to what you can buy, especially as a first time car buyer. They're sometimes a bit funny about it. What to actually look for in a car though? Well, you want to drive it, but you can't as a learner, because sometimes they won't let you do it. Get a family friend to come with you, get them to have a little go, see what they think of the drive of that car. Sit in the car. Don't try and buy it off the internet. It's very difficult to return, but you want to have a look at the car, make sure the car's for you. Maybe you want to have a look around the car, all the lights working, is all the stuff on the dashboard working? If it's got a camera fitted, does that work? Do the wipers work? Has it got screen wash in it? Open up the bonnet, is the car clean? Is there any sort of panel damage? Have a look down the side of different colours. Have a look at the back. Open up the boot. Have a look at the carpet underneath. Does it have rust in it? Have a look at the bottom of the doors. Make sure it's nice and clean. You want a car that is going to last. You don't want one that's going to break down in 6 months' time. And that sort of brings me on to the next thing. Things that are red flags. Immediately check things like the car vertical check. Now the garages often do these checks, but I'd do your own. For $3.99, it's worth it. Do a car vertical check, or do a check, because it'll tell you all about the history. Now I'm going to put a little scrolly video of my screenshot of one of the cars that we owned, and it'll tell you all about the history. You want a lot of things in there on the MOTs that are just consumables, like daft things like tyres or springs. What you don't want to see in there is, oh, I had a load of rust repaired, or I've had to respray the car, or there's been something wrong with the number plates because somebody might have had it out and smashed it. Go back, have a look. check the number plates at each end. Have they got the same logos on them? Have they got the same company on them? That's always a good telltale to see if the car's been involved in an accident. On accidents, they will show up on a car vertical check. You want to see if the colour's correct on the logbook, on the car vertical check, things like that. Does everything fit together? Does it really work? You're looking through that MOT history. You're looking at the mileage. Has it done a ton of mileage early on in its life? Has it done a ton of mileage recently? How much is the mileage? What sort of rate are you looking at? Again, 12,000 a year. But to be honest, I think you're probably better off looking at 6,000 a year. If you buy a 10-year-old car, I would say you probably want no more than 60 on it. At the very most, you want a decent car for your money. You're paying your hard-earned cash. What also shows up on these reports is the category, if it's been involved in an accident, if it's been involved in a Cat N or a Cat S, and if it's been involved in any of them, I'd be very careful and very wary about being involved in anything that's been involved in an accident. Most of the time the repairs have been decent, been done by reputable garages, but you've got to consider as well that somebody might have damaged that car and you don't know what's hiding underneath. I had a funny feeling about this car in specifics when I took it to the garage once, that somebody had bashed it. Nothing on the checks, nothing on the car, but just something that's a little telltale sign to say actually it was involved in an accident and it's been repaired privately away from insurers. Always on the lookout for things like that. What about things like used cars? What am I looking at used cars? Well, you're going to buy a used car unless you've absolutely minted. Then literally the first car you are going to buy is probably one that's anywhere between 5 and 15 years old. If it's more than 15, you've got to trust absolutely that this car is going to be easy to use, pristine inside, that it's not dirty, that there's nothing on the MOT checks. Anything else, I think I'd be a little bit worried. If it was a little bit younger, then yeah, you're going to get a decent car because you're bound to, because you're going to go for a main dealer. But if you're getting something that's a little older than 15, be very careful if you're buying from a private seller. A lot of hidden history, might have bald tyres. Don't buy anything in the dark, for example, because you can't see it. Try and open the bonnet, try and open all the doors, flick all the switches, things like that. Make sure you are buying a car that suits you and fits your budget. If you like what you see though, like and subscribe, and thanks for watching. Enjoy your weekend. Bye. Some people switch off after 5, so this might have gone a bit long for some people, but well, we'll see how it edits out.